Ladies and gentlemen, when the whole Bud Light thing happened and the whole Target thing happened and all these companies were getting woke and going broke, we said that a lot of this has to do with policies, right? A lot of this has to do with what people decide to vote for, or I really should say what people don't know that they're voting for, because a lot of people who vote with these certain parties that like to make these policies that increase crime in city areas, they don't even realize half the time that they're voting for those policies. A lot of people in major cities are essentially trained to vote blue no matter who. That's essentially what it is. So now we just recently seen a huge example of what happens when you vote for certain policies that makes crime essentially a non-punishable offense that allows people to run rampant and steal from everyone and anybody as much as they possibly want and have no repercussions whatsoever. So what are we talking about? Well, we have an article from the US Sun where we're going to be talking about Nike. Nike, apparently, this is pretty historic, is shutting down their flagship store after 40 years. 40 years. I want to make that number very clear. This is like Volition shutting down after 30 years. Nike's closing their flagship store after 40 freaking years because of theft and violence raging out of control. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they're closing their store that I believe is in Portland because obviously there are certain policies that are in place that are allowing people to just walk into stores, steal whatever the hell they want, and have absolutely no repercussion. You can film them, you could do whatever, nothing will happen to them at all. And they realize that, why am I paying for stuff? I don't have to pay for anything. I could just go in and take stuff. So let's get into this article from the US Sun. But of course, guys, before we do, just consider giving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm shadow banned as hell, and like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm. So it says a Nike factory store in Portland, Oregon, it's finally closing its doors after months of uncertainty regarding the retail location's fate. Residents of Portland are impacted emotionally and financially as this store closing is a huge economic hit for the area. Good. Let it get hit. Good. That's what we want. Let it destroy the area. I want that to happen. You know why? Because these same people that are trying to say, oh, it's a big, major economical and financial hit, those same people, most of them, are enabling this garbage that is happening every single day that caused a massive company like Nike to move out of a neighborhood like this. Like, you got to imagine what that decision must have been like for Nike to say, oh, we're going to take our sneaker store out of probably one of the biggest areas that is good for sneaker sales. We're going to take it out because we're actually losing more money than we're making because of all the theft. And we can't fight it. We just can't fight against it. And you know what? I don't want to hear the whining. I don't want to hear the complaining. You guys voted for this. You like this all the time. You talk about reparations and all this nonsense. You see this picture here of this dude just blatantly stealing shit because he knows he can. He'd get a bag. It's all good. Just rack up. You guys are perfectly fine with this. You're cool with it. You vote for it. So keep voting for it. Community leaders believe that both the store and the city leaders should have done more to keep the location open and address crime issues. Yeah, I agree, but it's a little bit too late. Because again, you guys really don't care. You don't care so long as it's still there. But oh, now that it's leaving, oh, now you want to care. Now you should have did more. You should have actually fought. Yeah, I know. No, you deserve everything you get. It says for about the past year, the store had been closed with no word as to when it may reopen. John Washington, executive director of the Seoul Business District Association, began digging into the future of the location after small businesses began to come to him at around the 6-month mark. Located at 2650 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, the store used to bring in a lot of foot traffic that would trickle off to surrounding small businesses. Small businesses began complaining that the Nike store's consistent closure and uncertain future were impacting their sales. Yeah, well, shit happened. That prompted me to ask Nike what their intentions were, explained Washington to the Oregonian. It was recently when Washington followed up with the company that he received the devastating news that the store would not be reopening. The company said it was reimagining Nike's retail space and considering future locations as part of this community's long-term revitalization plan. No, at the end of the day, guys, they're gone. They're gone. That's the politically correct way of saying we're getting the hell out of it. And you guys forced this on that company. You guys forced this on Nike. It is what it is, man. Nike is a business. And listen, they could virtue signal all they want. And you know they do. They virtue signal all the time. When BLM was happening, Nike was loving it. Oh my God, the amount of virtue signal they were doing was insane. But even with all that being said, they still have to make money at the end of the day. And you got to imagine the amount of money that they were losing at that store to make them want to give up 40 freaking years of history. That's insane. That is a crazy number. That's just like, I can't even put that together in my mind, right? So they gave up 40 years of history because they were losing that much money. It is a lot of money to lose. It says there are currently no specific plans to open a store, of course not, to replace this location, but the brand said they would. I don't think they would. Seek the input of local community organizations and leaders to determine the best new location. They're not going to. They're going to open up a small-ass store in the middle of nowhere in that town just to say that they are politically correct. But they're not going to have their flagship store there. They're not going to have a store this big there anymore. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have a store that is much, much, much smaller, and just to say it's there, and they're going to take their flagship store, and they're going to move it somewhere else because they're going to move it to some white neighborhood, guaranteed, that is not going to steal from them. At least not as much, because obviously white people still do steal also. It's not just in Portland. Nike will also be offering jobs within the company to employees who used to work at the flagship location. Washington and the community did not take the news lightly. Well, you should have did something. Word about the store closing landed like a lead balloon, he said. The executive director said that the people of Portland were trying to rebuild, and he had been holding out hope that the retailer was too. We had all been holding our breath since last November when the store quietly shuttered its doors due to internal and external theft and safety issues, he said. Continuing, but like so many of us riding out the fallout of the pandemic and protests, we held out hope that Nike, city officials, and community leaders would recalibrate and realign order, but it looks like it's game over. Ultimately, Washington had a question for Nike. Why close down a flagship store that has supported Black Portland for over 40 years? It was an economic driver in the area, and we should be looking at the long-term impact of that closure. Bro, what? Why is that? That's not even a question. That's not even a question. What do you mean? What do you mean? Why close down a flagship store that supported Black Portland? It's because Black Portland turned its back on Nike. Black Portland took advantage of their privilege and said, oh, because we're black, we're going to be allowed to steal whatever the hell we like without any repercussions whatsoever. So let's just take everything. Who cares what happens, right? Because what's the excuse you guys always use? Oh, yeah. Insurance is going to cover all this nonsense. Insurance is going to cover everything that was stolen. It doesn't work like that. And now you guys are learning something that you don't really get to learn very often because of policies that allow you to do whatever the hell you want. But now you're learning that certain actions have consequences. And if you keep stealing from the same damn store that was supposedly there for 40 years, supporting you and your area, and you chose to reward them like this, yeah, I would have left too. So I'm glad Nike left, but we all know they're going to open up another smaller store in that area just so they don't look so bad politically. But we all know the real reason why they left. And Black Portland, you really should look at yourselves and realize why they left too. But we all know that's probably not going to happen. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.